Hello, and welcome to Quiet Nights, your gentle retreat into a world of calm and tranquility. Tonight, we invite you to unwind with a soothing story, crafted to ease your mind and guide you toward a restful night's sleep. But before we begin, take a deep, unhurried breath, and then another. Feel the weight of the day slowly melt away, like soft clouds drifting across the evening sky. Let go of any lingering thoughts, any tension that still clings to you. There's no rush, no expectations, only this quiet moment, just for you. As you listen, let the rhythm of the words lull you into a state of peaceful relaxation. Now close your eyes, settle in, and let the whispers of the night carry you away. Welcome to Quiet Nights. Long ago, under the vast Italian sky, the country estate of the Roman Emperor Aurelian slumbered. It was the nascent years of the 2nd century, the midpoint of his imperial tenure, and whenever the currents of statecraft allowed, he sought refuge here, in his newly conjured haven at Tibur. Nestled within a landscape of painterly beauty, this retreat, a mere score of miles from Rome's clamor, felt galaxies removed. On this particular afternoon, bathed in the generous warmth of late spring sunshine, Aurelian traced paths through his villa's gardens, a man tall and entering the autumn of his middle years, his dark hair curled densely above a meticulously kept beard. Though an emperor, his attire spoke of ease, light, unadorned fabrics, the familiar embrace of his most broken-in sandals. No need, here amidst the whispering leaves, for the stiff elegance of toga or ceremonial tunic. Today was unburdened by duty, devoid of appointments, a respite hard-earned after a whirlwind week, grappling with the capital's relentless pulse. Beyond the usual congresses and councils, his energies had been funneled into guiding his cadre of architects. Their current monumental task, the rebirth of the Pantheon, that hallowed temple anchoring the city's heart, Aurelian found satisfaction in most imperial obligations, especially those touching upon the art of building. Yet the city's incessant thrum inevitably wore upon his spirit. Thus, opportunity seized, he would escape to this pastoral sanctuary. The journey from Rome, a swift passage by horseback completed in mere hours, made weekend flights feasible, though weekends often bled into weeks, stretching languidly into fortnights, then months. Now, Aurelian was just beginning to resynchronize with the countryside's gentle cadence. Having arrived that morning and partaken of a robust midday meal, he'd commenced his customary circuit of the grounds. He moved now through a cultivated expanse on the estate's periphery, his devoted black hound, Vesta, padding faithfully behind. This precinct, a favored corner of his world, masterfully wove man-made opulence with nature's untamed grace. Pathways, edged with statues of exquisite marble and murmuring fountains, wound onward. Nearby, fragrant wisteria spilled down ancient walls, draping the brickwork in cascades of violet splendor. In the distance, a long, placid pool shimmered, capturing fragments of the sun. Silence reigned, save for the soft tread of man and dog, punctuated by the liquid music of the fountains. Then Aurelian paused, arrested, listening with heightened senses. Birdsong, previously unheard, now filtered into his awareness. Close by, the cheerful chatter of sparrows, congregating at the fountain rims to sip and preen. Further off, ethereal melodies drifted from unseen throats, perhaps concealed within the deep green spires of cypresses, or the sheltering canopies of umbrella pines girding the estate. A deep sigh of pure contentment escaped him. The joy of return washed over him, this place where the knots of obligation finally loosened, where relaxation was not a pursuit, but an atmosphere. He could feel the week's accumulated pressures dissolving like mist. Here, invariably, he felt rejuvenated, unburdened, as if shedding an invisible weight. The frantic energy of Rome was a state he could endure only briefly. Compared to that urban vortex, the villa at Tibur was a bucolic paradise, profoundly peaceful, the air cool, clean, life-giving. Breathing deeply, Aurelian smiled. What fortune to possess not merely a country house, but a true sanctuary, accessible at will. This villa was Aurelian's materialized dream, conceived by his own mind. He'd craved a rural retreat proximate to the capital, yet existing properties lacked the precise character he envisioned. The allure lay in crafting something grander, more intensely personal. Collaborating with his architects, he articulated his desire to sculpt his ideal city in miniature. Aurelian's villa sprawled, immense, encompassing over 30 structures set within sprawling gardens, an estate exceeding Pompeii in sheer scale. Countless pools, fountains, and thermal baths punctuated the landscape. Beyond residential quarters lay libraries, temples, magnificent courtyards, and airy pavilions. Even a secluded domicile perched upon a man-made isle. Throughout its creation, extravagance knew no bounds. Only the most superlative materials were deemed worthy. Floors gleamed with rare marble, intricate mosaics of glass and ivory forming complex geometries. Walls wore veneers of polished stone or vibrant frescoes. Many chambers pulsed with vivid mosaic artistry depicting avian life, beasts of myth and field, and legendary scenes. In certain respects, the villa echoed other imperial residences. Roman rulers had long embraced luxurious living. Aurelian's primary dwelling on Rome's Palatine Hill was similarly sumptuously adorned. Yet this country estate derived its singular magic from Aurelian's unique imprint. He personally shaped the design of numerous edifices, meticulously selecting the very stones and pigments. His vision transcended mere luxury. He sought to forge a place that was an autobiography in stone and water, reflecting his life, his journeys, his passions. Recent years had seen Aurelian traverse the vast Roman Empire relentlessly through lands destined to be known as Britain, Greece, Turkey, Persia, and North Africa. While imperial responsibilities often dictated these voyages, a profound love of travel also fueled his wanderings. He cherished vivid recollections of every locale, from the verdant northern fields to the stark beauty of southern deserts. Consequently, his villa became a tapestry of architectural dialects and inspirations. The estate's elegant framework adhered to classical Roman principles, yet specific zones were direct homages to his experiences abroad. He was walking now Through such a hybridized garden space, the path culminated at a long artificial pool, flanked by stone colonnades and graceful archways. Majestic, richly hued marble sculptures depicting Roman deities lined its edges, alongside a solemn procession of Greek caryatids, statues of women in draped robes, serving as elegant supports for the entablature above. As Aurelian approached the water's edge, a slow smile touched his lips. This vista never failed to instill a profound sense of fulfillment. The pool's harmonious beauty, its perfect symmetry, was precisely the effect he had orchestrated, a flawless synthesis of Greek, Roman, and Egyptian aesthetics. This elongated pool symbolized a tributary of the Nile, terminating at a shell-shaped grotto. This cavern, though decorative, also functioned as a shrine, consecrated to Serapis, the Egyptian lord of the underworld. Within its cool recess rested a marble effigy of the god, Serapis depicted as a man with untamed, flowing locks, crowned with an unusual cylindrical headdress resembling a vessel. His expression was serene, almost detached as he reclined upon an ornate plinth, encircled by cascading water features. He seemed to lounge eternally, overseeing the tranquil sea-green mirror of the pool before him. On balmy summer evenings, Aurelian frequently orchestrated lavish banquets beside this water. He understood the spell this place cast upon guests. Its aesthetic perfection drew universal acclaim, visitors lauding the exquisite symmetry of its conception. An undeniable dreamlike quality permeated the air. But for Aurelian, the pool's allure stemmed equally from its potent symbolism and the memories it resurrected. It was meticulously designed to evoke the ambiance of places encountered during his extensive travels through North Africa and Greece. His time in Athens, witnessing the architectural splendor and immersing himself in the vibrant culture, participating in local rites and festivals, remained etched in his mind. These memories were further gilded by the companionship of his cherished confidant, Lysander. Their paths had converged during Aurelian's eastern sojourns in the kingdom of Bithynia. Since that meeting, the two men had been virtually inseparable, journeying together across the vast tapestry of the Roman world. Proximity to the villa's pool invariably transported Aurelian back to those luminous days in far-flung lands, Lysander ever at his side. Standing here by the water's edge, time dissolved as joyful recollections surged forth. Reaching the pool's far end near the grotto, Aurelian stood motionless, his gaze lost in the water's depths. He watched, captivated, the interplay of reflected sunlight and the submerged bases of the statues. Gradually, the vivid memories softened, nostalgia mellowing into a different sentiment, a quiet gratitude for the present moment. Those days abroad ranked among the finest of his existence, yet this, too, was a period of peace, of happiness. He felt more settled now, more comfortable within his own skin. Lifting his gaze, Aurelian absorbed the entire panorama, the long sweep of the pool, framed by its stately rows of columns, statues, and elegant arches. Through meticulous design, he had transmuted a vision into a reality that possessed an even greater enchantment. Soon, the evenings would acquire sufficient warmth for banquets to grace these shores once more. Tables would encircle the water, guests reclining near its edge, dining beneath the moon's silvery luminescence. Closing his eyes, Aurelian could almost conjure the sounds, music and laughter, intertwining with the soft, susurrant murmur of the fountains. He anticipated these protracted, languid summer nights, shared with Lysander and his most intimate circle. Opening his eyes, he found Vesta seated patiently beside him. Time to move onward, Aurelian resolved. He knew his hound found greatest contentment in motion. Though age had tempered her hunting instincts, she still reveled in roaming the estate, investigating every nook of the gardens. As Aurelian turned onto the path leading away from the pool, Vesta trotted ahead, her nose perpetually close to the earth, diligently examining every blade and stone. Aurelian observed her with fond amusement, noting her intense fascination with even the most commonplace patches of turf. Periodically, she would halt, dedicating herself to a thorough olfactory investigation of a particular spot, as if deciphering a complex tapestry of hidden scents. It was amusing, he mused, how utterly oblivious Vesta remained to her sumptuous environment. The sculptural marvels, the costly pavement beneath her paws, they registered not at all. Her world revolved around her master's presence, and the intriguing narratives carried on the breeze and held within the soil. She could be in any garden, anywhere, and her happiness would be unchanged. This was one reason Aurelian held such affection for dogs. Beyond their unwavering loyalty and unconditional devotion, they served as constant reminders to cherish life's simpler elements. The villa's architecture and artworks possessed undeniable beauty, but so too did this unadorned stretch of lawn. Aurelian inhaled deeply, drawing in the rich, clean perfume of freshly mown grass. His own senses might lack Vesta's acuity, but this fragrance was profoundly satisfying. While intrinsically linked to spring, it also stirred within him a pleasant anticipation for the approaching summer. These transitional moments held a unique beauty, spring yielding to summer later mellowing into autumn. As he contemplated this, breathing the garden scents, a wave of sweet nostalgia washed over him again. Yet this time, untethered to any specific memory. It was a pervasive feeling of contentment, tinged with a gentle melancholy. Perhaps, on some deeper level, this sensation arose from an awareness of time's relentless passage. It seemed to accelerate inexorably as he aged. It felt like only yesterday he'd marked the same seasonal shift, yet a full year had cycled past. Next spring, he suspected, the feeling would recur, surprise at the swift, silent turning of the seasons. He recalled a resonant line from the poet Virgil, Fugit irreparabile tempus. It escapes irretrievable time. The phrase had since distilled into common parlance. Tempus fugit. Time flies. When Aurelian first encountered this maxim during his youthful literary studies, it had made little impact. Indeed, he might have refuted it then. In adolescence, days stretched like infinite horizons. Time felt abundant, boundless. But the poet's insight proved true. Ever since, time had indeed flown for Aurelian. Ascending to the emperorship at 40 marked a distinct acceleration, and the years now seemed to vanish with even greater speed. Perhaps, Aurelian considered, this was a positive indication, a sign of a life lived richly, densely packed with meaningful experiences. The recognition of time's swift current could also serve as a valuable prompt to decelerate, to fully inhabit moments such as this. Continuing along the garden path, Aurelian found his steps slowing naturally. He attuned himself to each footfall, each subtle sensation, the grassy aroma, the gentle warmth of the sun on the nape of his neck. At one point, Vesta glanced back, tail wagging tentatively, a questioning look in her eyes. Impatience stirring, no doubt, wondering at her master's deliberate pace. Aurelian offered her an affectionate pat before slightly quickening his stride as they angled towards the residential core of the estate. Emperor and hound proceeded past a grand complex of thermal baths, traversed numerous smaller gardens and courtyards. Finally, they arrived at a colonnaded portico, marking the entrance to their destination, Aurelian's private island. This island housed a substantial villa, a secluded retreat boasting over 30 rooms, including bedchambers, a library, a study, and a compact bath suite. The luxurious structure commanded the entirety of the artificial islet, which floated within a shallow, encircling moat. Access was granted via a retractable wooden drawbridge. Though typically left down, Aurelian cherished the knowledge that he could raise it, sealing himself off completely. Thus secured, he could immerse himself in study, relaxation, or undisturbed slumber. The concept of a private island stemmed from a childhood fantasy. During youthful disputes with his sister, or when seeking evasion from tutors, he had yearned for an escape hatch, a place entirely his own. As a boy, Aurelian often daydreamed of possessing such a sanctuary, not merely a room, but an island fortress. Visitors would be admitted only by his express permission, or sometimes not at all. It would be his personal dominion, a realm for solitary pursuits, peace, and absolute privacy. In those juvenile visions, the island was a rugged outcrop battered by the blue ocean. The reality differed, yet gazing up at the splendid edifice, its white marble luminous in the afternoon sun, Aurelian felt a profound satisfaction. His childhood self could never have conceived of commanding an island retreat designed by his own hand. Aurelian stepped onto the wooden drawbridge, Vesta close behind. Crossing, his gaze drifted down into the moat, catching the fleeting glint of a fish darting beneath the water's surface. This moat was but one of many fish ponds scattered across the estate grounds. Aurelian found the silent, gliding presence of the fish inherently calming. He often paused to observe their slow navigation through the reeds. Perhaps his next architectural endeavor, he mused, would be an indoor pool or aquarium, teeming with the most vibrant, exotic fish. Space might even be found within one of his bedchambers. Soon, he would confer with his architects, crystallize the next plan. Aurelian remained a perpetual dreamer, a constant planner, always nurturing a few nascent ideas in the fertile ground of his mind. Having crossed the bridge, Aurelian entered the villa's imposing entrance hall. Elaborate marble friezes depicting nautical scenes and marine creatures adorned the walls, while intricate mosaic patterns flowed across the floors. The only sounds were the echoing footfalls of Aurelian and Vesta upon the tessellated surface. No one else was present, while many other buildings on the estate bustled with servants and visitors. The island house remained inviolate unless summoned by the emperor himself. The nature of his work necessitated constant interaction. It was a welcome contrast to retreat into this quiet, echoing house, where conversation was unnecessary. For now, the silent companionship of his dog sufficed. Vesta padded softly ahead, veering towards the study. It was as if she could perceive his intentions. She often seemed to anticipate his destination before Aurelian himself had fully decided. He followed her into the designated room, a large, luminous space overlooking the moat. This was Aurelian's sanctum for personal pursuits, detached entirely from his imperial role. Here he read, composed poetry, delved into philosophy, sketched architectural concepts, or sometimes he simply sat, gazing through the window, lost in reminiscence or reverie. Aurelian entered with the vague intention of studying or perhaps drafting preliminary sketches for the new fish pond. Instead, he found himself drawn to the couch, positioned near the window. Sinking into its cushions, his mind began to drift. Inevitably, his thoughts circled back to past journeys. He recalled the tour of southern Greece with Lysander, overseeing the meticulous restoration of ancient temples and venerable shrines. Closing his eyes, the scenes materialized with startling clarity. He harbored a deep hope of revisiting those cherished places someday, or perhaps venturing into territories entirely new, exploring distant lands on the empire's farthest horizons. Throughout his life, Aurelian had been susceptible to these intense surges of wanderlust, but maturity had taught him the art of anchoring himself in the present. Though future travels beckoned, a newfound patience tempered his yearning. For the moment, contentment resided right here. Opening his eyes, he saw Vesta had already claimed her customary spot in the room's corner. She lay curled upon a soft, threadbare piece of carpet, perhaps the sole item in the entire villa showing signs of wear. Yet Aurelian resisted replacing it. Vesta invariably made a beeline for this rug, settling comfortably at its center, prepared to sleep away the afternoon. Observing Vesta's peaceful slumber, a congruent drowsiness began to steal over Aurelian. The demanding week, coupled with the pleasant lassitude following his garden walk, conspired to invite rest. His schedule today was clear. No imperative forbade yielding to a nap. Another concession to age, perhaps, he thought, a faint smile playing on his lips. An afternoon nap, another of life's understated luxuries. After adjusting the couch cushions for optimal comfort, Aurelian lay back and closed his eyes. He drew a slow, deep breath, feeling an immediate stillness settle over body and mind. The room was cool, profoundly silent. The only audible sounds were the dog's soft, rhythmic snoring and his own steady respiration. His breaths grew slow and deep, finding a comfortable, natural cadence, gently guiding him towards the threshold of sleep. At last, thoughts of his magnificent villa, his far-flung travels, receded into the quiet background. The emperor was poised to enter another realm, peaceful, private, inviolable, the dominion of sleep. To behold a rose unfurling its petals is to grasp the very essence of the now, a fleeting communion with sensory delight. Yet this bloom, so vibrant, whispers too of impermanence. Its life, measured in mere weeks, deepens our reverence for its ephemeral grace. The rose, it seems, belongs wholly to the present moment, its history rarely considered amidst its immediate allure. But delve deeper, and the rose reveals an astonishing antiquity. While not Earth's primordial blossom, its lineage stretches back across an immense expanse of time, no less than 35 million years. A fossilized testament, unearthed in the high plains of Colorado, bears witness to this venerable age. Consider this. When that ancient rose bloomed, the reign of dinosaurs had already concluded some 30 million years prior. Our own species, Homo sapiens, emerged a scant 300,000 years ago. That petrified Colorado bloom, therefore, shared an era far closer to the thunder lizards than to us. For millennia upon millennia, wild roses painted landscapes across the globe, untamed and free. The earliest confirmed whisper of deliberate cultivation, however, arises from the annals of China, circa 500 BCE. Music interlude. It's conceivable that similar horticultural stirrings were occurring contemporaneously around the Mediterranean basin and in Persia. Alongside tending wild varieties, cultivators began coaxing forth a new marvel, a flower that would become known as the China rose. Music interlude. This particular lineage possessed the remarkable trait of blooming continuously, season through season, bequeathing this persistence to countless modern cultivars. Celestial emperors of China developed a profound fascination with the rose. The sage Master Kong, living in the 6th century BCE, noted the existence of 600 volumes dedicated solely to rose cultivation within the imperial library. This royal preoccupation endured for centuries. Under the Han Dynasty, several hundred years later, rose cultivation reached staggering proportions. Fields upon fields displacing vital farmland, as emperors saturated palace grounds and the surrounding countryside with their beloved blossoms. Elsewhere, the rose was weaving itself into the cultural fabric in different ways. Music interlude. In the sun-drenched lands of ancient Greece and Rome, large-scale cultivation akin to China's seems absent. Nevertheless, the rose resonated with potent symbolism and was held in high esteem. Perhaps it was here, among the Hellenes, that the rose first became entwined with love's fire and passion's heat. Cytherea, the Greek embodiment of love, born from sea foam, and her Roman reflection, Amoria, were both intimately linked with the flower. In Alessandro di Mariano's famed depiction, The Birth of Amoria, the goddess emerges ocean-born upon a shell, while winds scatter a cascade of pink roses around her. Myths spun intricate tales connecting Cytherea to roses. One speaks of white roses springing from the ocean spume at her genesis. Another recounts the goddess piercing her foot on a thorn, her divine blood staining the white petals forever crimson. Like Cytherea, Amoria reigned as the deity of roses, love, and matrimonial bonds in Rome. Devotees, particularly women, brought roses as offerings to her temples, and the blooms frequently adorned bridal garlands, a likely genesis, at least in the West, of the flower's enduring romantic connotations. Yet the rose held other meanings, veiled and significant. Music interlude. For the Romans, it became an emblem of confidentiality, of secrets held close. A single rose hung upon a door signified a private political conclave within. This custom evolved into another, adorning the ceilings of banquet halls with roses. Guests, even when sub vino, under wine's influence, were simultaneously sub rosa, under the rose. The floral presence served as a silent injunction. Words spoken here remained within these walls. Intriguingly, mythology offers another route for this tradition. Eros Minor, a lesser god of love, is said to have gifted a red rose to the god of silence. His motive? To ensure his mother Amoria's amorous escapades remained clandestine, bribing silence itself with the flower's beauty. In Roman society, roses also played vital roles in ceremony. Across the vast empire, the festival known as Rosalia saw garlands of roses and other blossoms tenderly placed upon burial sites. Here, the rose spoke of a different love, remembrance, hope, and the cycle of rebirth. Showers of petals rained down during triumphal parades for victorious generals returning home. Though these ancient rites have faded, the rose retains a ceremonial presence in Rome even today. Music interlude. The Pantheon, once a temple to all gods, now stands as a Catholic basilica. Each year, at Pentecost, a breathtaking ritual unfolds. Tens of thousands of rose petals drift down through the oculus, the great opening in the dome, blanketing the marble floor below in a fragrant, colorful cloud. A magical representation of the Holy Spirit's descent. But while roses have long carried spiritual weight, they could also signify the height of luxury, even decadence. Turning again to ancient Rome, we encounter the notorious tale of Varius Avitus, a lesser-known emperor ascending to power at 14 and ruling but briefly. Legend paints him as more devoted to revelry than governance. At one infamous banquet, he reputedly arranged for such an overwhelming cascade of petals to fall from concealed ceiling compartments that his guests were smothered beneath the floral deluge. A dramatic 19th century painting captures the scene. The young emperor lounging, indifferent, while his companions vanish into a sea of pink rose petals. Another ancient narrative features the formidable Nile Queen, who employed roses as a theatrical display of seductive power. Her bedchamber, it's claimed, was filled knee-deep with petals, and she purportedly favored pillows stuffed with them. While perhaps embellished by time, these extravagant accounts illustrate how the rose became synonymous, not just with affection, but with opulent excess, its value growing through legendary association as much as inherent beauty. There is more to the rose than captivates the eye or enthralls the nose. Across centuries and cultures, humanity has drawn sustenance and healing from this versatile flower. The rose hip, the fruit swelling beneath the faded bloom, is a treasure trove of vitamin C. The petals themselves are credited with antibacterial and anti-inflammatory virtues. In the lexicon of herbal medicine, they serve to soothe troubled stomachs, alleviate stress and tension, elevate spirits, and more. The Rosa gallica, affectionately known as the apothecary's rose, a stunning, fragrant bloom with generous pink petals, was a staple in medieval Physic gardens, prized for both medicine and perfume. By steeping petals in water, their essence can be coaxed into fragrant oils. This alchemy flourished not only in Europe, but also across Asia, particularly in Persia, now Iran. For hundreds of years, the people of Iran have masterfully extracted essential oil from rose petals. This precious oil perfumes lives and sanctifies spaces as incense, while its byproduct, rose water, delicately flavors food and drink and enhances cosmetic preparations. From potent remedies to intoxicating perfumes, the rose offers a wealth of practical gifts. Yet, for contemporary gardeners, its primary allure remains ornamental beauty. And within Western culture, the rose stands preeminently as a symbol of romance, beyond its status as the quintessential Valentine's offering. It blooms perennially in countless poems and songs. Curiously, the trajectory of the rose's modern romantic stature can be traced back to a single extraordinary garden, that of the Château de Malmaison, nestled some 15 kilometers west of Paris. Acquired in 1799, this elegant manor became the cherished residence of Émilie de Beauharnais, wife of the ambitious general. In the early 19th century, while the general pursued campaigns abroad, Emily devoted herself to transforming the house and its grounds. Her youth, spent on the Caribbean island of Martinique, perhaps instilled in her a passion for collecting flora and fauna from distant shores. In a letter, she declared her ambition to forge the most beautiful and curious garden in Europe and a model of cultivation. Emily cultivated a dazzling array of exotic plants, even constructing a heated orangery for pineapples. Her domain also hosted a menagerie of creatures: kangaroos, zebras, ostriches, permitted to wander the estate. Music interlude. Visitors to the chateau at the time might have been most struck by encounters with Emily's exotic pets, but the enduring legacy of Malmaison was its unparalleled rose garden. Music interlude. Emily, whose given name, Rose, seemed prophetic, was an ardent collector. The rose reigned supreme as her favorite flower. Aided by a skilled team of gardeners and botanists, she populated the grounds of Malmaison with approximately 250 distinct rose varieties. Her ambition was boundless, to gather every known rose on earth. The general himself commanded the French Navy to seize seeds and plants from captured vessels, dispatching them directly to Emily's burgeoning collection. Emily's rose garden, immortalized in artworks of the era, became a beacon of inspiration for gardeners and rose breeders throughout Europe. It stands as arguably one of the world's first and most influential gardens dedicated to the rose, a novel concept for its time to focus so intently on a single genus. This vast and diverse collection held another crucial advantage. It included the ever-blooming roses imported from China. Unlike their European counterparts, these China roses offered repeat performances, flowering again and again throughout the season. This characteristic endowed them with immense value and commercial promise. Music interlude. Horticulturists began to experiment, interweaving the lineages of different roses. Then, in the crucible of 19th century France, the hybrid tea rose emerged. This creation embodies what many consider the classic rose: fragrant, vigorous, exquisitely formed, and reliably reblooming. Crucially, the hybrid tea rose grows upon a long, elegant stem, perfect for cutting and presenting as a singular, potent statement. These iconic long-stemmed roses, inextricably linked with romance and Valentine's Day, owe their existence, albeit indirectly, to the passion project nurtured in Emily's garden. The Empress played an unwitting yet pivotal role in shaping the modern rose industry. In essence, the romantic symbolism of the rose, as understood in the West, evolved over 2 millennia. Its association with love likely took root with the Greek goddess Cytherea and her Roman heir, Amoria. Centuries later, drawing inspiration from Empress Emily's horticultural masterpiece, cultivators fashioned the hybrid tea rose, blending the finest traits of European and Chinese varieties. This new bloom, commercially appealing and aesthetically perfect, became the favored token of affection. Its popularity further cemented by the Victorian penchant for imbuing flowers with specific meanings. But the narrative does not conclude there. The quest continues. Gardeners today persist in cultivating and conjuring new expressions of the rose. They experiment with diverse varieties, echoing the horticultural innovators inspired by Emily's collection. To birth a new rose, a breeder selects 2 parent plants possessing desired qualities, perhaps one chosen for a unique lilac hue, the other for its intoxicating, sweet perfume. Pollen is carefully transferred between the chosen parents, mimicking nature's own pollinators. This deliberate cross-pollination encourages the formation of a rose hip, the fleshy vessel cradling the seeds of potential. Once ripened, these seeds are harvested, stored, and eventually sown within the controlled environment of a greenhouse. Seedlings exhibiting promise are transplanted outdoors, observed for their performance in the garden's embrace. This patient cycle repeats, relentlessly refining the lineage, focusing only on seedlings that embody the breeder's vision. Professional breeders might undertake as many as 100,000 experimental crosses. Years of meticulous effort may yield only a handful of novel rose hybrids. They arrive in a kaleidoscope of colors, from deepest crimson to softest blush, bearing names as poetic as their petals: moonstone, lavender symphonies, velvet fragrance, and countless others. And all the while, an ancient sentinel endures, a rosebush that continues its cycle of growth and bloom year after relentless year. Unlike the carefully engineered creations of modern breeders, this bush is a testament to untamed nature. It is the legendary thousand-year rose, clambering up the weathered wall of Hildesheim Cathedral in Germany. This is no manicured hybrid, no long-stemmed Valentine's offering, nor does it resemble the orderly bushes of Emily's garden. It is a wild, sprawling being, a tenacious dog, rose-scaling the ancient brickwork. Reaching 10 meters high, this venerable shrub appears for much of the year as a dense tangle of woody vines, almost tree-like, but annually, in the gentle warmth of late May, it erupts in a profusion of exquisite, pale pink blossoms, releasing a delicate fragrance into the air. They call it the thousand-year rose, for tradition holds it dates back to the cathedral's very foundation in the 9th century. Legend tells of an emperor discovering, amidst summer's heat, a mound inexplicably covered in snow, crowned by a blooming rosebush. He decreed a cathedral be built upon that exact spot, encircling the miraculous plant. Through centuries of history, the rose bush persisted, even surviving the devastating bombing of the cathedral during the Second World War. The beauty of most flowers is a fleeting whisper, yet the thousand-year rose seems to touch eternity. Each year its blooms arrive and depart, yet their return is assured, a profound symbol of hope, resilience, and rebirth. And herein, perhaps, lies the deepest beauty of the rose. It transcends the mere vibrancy of its petals or the celestial quality of its scent. It resides in the meaning woven into it by humanity across millennia. Though individual blooms inevitably fade, the significance of the rose endures, as timeless and resilient as that first ancient flower. The rose that unfurled its petals 35 million years ago.